Proud to serve Western Indiana and Eastern Illinois. This is WTHI-TV Terre Haute.
Closed caption of the following program is brought to you by WTHI-TV and Terre Haute First National Bank.
And now, the Wabash Valley's leading newscast with Mark Allen and Patrice Dayton. Kevin Orford's computerized weather forecast. Mike King with sports and the area's only live on-the-spot coverage. This is Action 10 News.
The final numbers are in on a Wabash Valley expansion. The bottom line totals some $500 million. Good evening.
Pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly put a price tag today on an expansion they started in April of 1990. The numbers show $500 million in improvements, and that includes construction, updated environmental controls, and air emission improvements. 340 new jobs, 2,200 construction jobs at the project's peak, and an estimated economic impact on the Wabash Valley of some $1.2 billion. Now, a new product's the main reason behind all these numbers, and Action 10's Paul Adler has more on that.
Miles of pipes, numerous valves, and a computer screen or two all lead to a new product. It's called Lurabid. Lilly workers rolling commands into computers are helping create the antibiotic. It'll keep some 1,300 workers at the Clinton labs busy. More than 300 of those workers are new, in jobs described as good paying and at family level. The company says it wants employees who will stick around.
We're in a business that takes long term, and this may sound like I'm a bit afield, but if it takes 10 years to develop a new product, you better be thinking about your human relations philosophy in such a manner that you'll also have the skills and the people and the environment necessary to produce those products.
Lurabid triggered the company's original expansion announcement in April of 1990. While most of the construction work has wrapped up, the product hasn't hit the market yet. That's supposed to happen later this year. Besides making room for new production, the project also includes moving storage tanks above ground and cleaning up air emissions. Governor Evan Bayh says the entire state benefits from the business.
This facility could have been located in any of the 50 states in this country. But more than that, it could have been located in any number of countries around the globe. Lilly chose to locate it here in the Wabash Valley, and for that we should be very, very grateful.
So, while it looks like a mass of confusing, twisted, and turned pipes, in reality it's something the workers untangle, creating a profitable product for the company and the valley. Paul Adler, Action 10 News, Clinton.
That is good news. Now, the product Lurabid will be used to treat respiratory tract, skin, and urinary tract infections. Well, at the same news conference, a Lilly vice president disputed a comment by an executive with a foreign company. That executive is Japanese, and he works in an entirely different field. But the man made a comment touching all Americans. The Japanese businessman called American workers lazy. Lilly Vice President Joe Cook disputed that. He calls workers in the Wabash Valley top-notch.
Yeah, we've got some things to do. I don't think it's very smart for people to stick their head in the sand and say we're perfect and we don't need to improve. Besides, that's not the philosophy of how we run our business. We're always looking for constant ways of improving and looking for the future. But today...
Governor Bayh also disputed the assertion that American workers are lazy.
Well, it was the president of the Toyota Corporation that made that comment, labeling American workers as uncaring and lazy. Well, the charge brought several calls to the Action 10 News Your Call line. Here's some of the responses we received.
This is Kenny from Terre Haute. I feel that American workers don't take pride in their products.
This is George from Vermilion County. The American people are hard workers.
This is Helen from Terre Haute, Indiana. I agree with Japan. I don't think American workers care enough about their work.
My name is Karen. I'm calling from Terre Haute. If it weren't for the money that these supposed lazy Americans sent over during the second or after the Second World War, this man would probably still live in a paper house, and we would still be economically sound.
Yeah, this is Virginia from Terre Haute. No, the American people are not lazy, and I think that's an insult to the United States.
The Action 10 News Your Call line is open 24 hours a day for your comments. The number is 232-7929. Well, the Japanese may think U.S. workers are lazy, but we're busy crating up some American-made computers to send to them. An agreement was signed yesterday allowing the U.S. computer industry to break into the $9 billion computer market controlled by Japan's government. President Bush predicts the computer agreement will mean more jobs for Americans in the U.S. electronics industry. The U.S. computer industry estimates it can increase exports to Tokyo from 5 million to nearly 5 billion. That's a billion with a B.
Well, the recent war of words between Japanese and American workers is also in the news in California. In Los Angeles last night, a $122 million deal with a Japanese rail car company was ditched by the local Transportation Commission. And now the Japanese are calling it a case of Japan bashing. Commission members faced huge opposition to the plan. Taxpayers told them they wanted local dollars spent at home. The Japanese firm had tried to calm the fuss over the contract by announcing plans to involve General Electric. But California labor unions say they weren't buying that either.
Still to come, from near 50s to flakes. Later, Kevin will tell us if this is a picture of weather we should just get accustomed to.
Well, now it's weather bashing, and the fate of an accused murderer is debated by a jury in Illinois. We'll have that report next.
Jasper County is wrapping up today. 34-year-old Michael Wright was killed last year, and finally jury members are deciding on the sentence of a Dundas, Illinois man. Action 10 Illinois Bureau Chief Scott Fossey was in Newton, Illinois, and has the details.
25-year-old Kenneth McCaslin spent another day in court this morning, his final day of trial. Friends, family members, and witnesses were searched, then sent into the courtroom. Among them, the dead man's ex-wife, Rita, who testified against McCaslin, her brother, earlier in the trial. McCaslin is accused of first-degree murder for the shooting death of 34-year-old Michael Wright last July in Willow Hill, Illinois. Today, both attorneys had their closing arguments, and I had the opportunity to speak with Michael Wright's mother, who feels strongly about her son's death.
That was my son that got killed, Michael Allen Wright, and I hope Jamie gets what he deserves.
Both attorneys are also talking about the case and have strong feelings. The defense attorney says jury members have their work cut out for them.
If they don't think he's guilty of first-degree murder, they have to drop it down and see if he's guilty of second-degree murder. If they don't think he's guilty of second-degree murder, they have to drop it down and decide whether it's involuntary manslaughter.
The Jasper County State's attorney disagrees with all the other options. He says first-degree murder is the only conclusion the jury must make.
I will be asking for the maximum sentence, and that being 60 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections, because I think what he did was cold-blooded murder.
The jury began deliberating at 1 o'clock this afternoon to decide if it really was a cold-blooded murder or not a murder at all. Scott Fossey, Action 10 News, Illinois Bureau, Jasper County.
The jury is still in deliberation. We'll have the latest developments tonight on Night Watch.
One cut made in the Illinois state budget may have sad results for the poor. Lawmakers eliminated the reimbursement to undertakers who pay for funeral and burial expenses for welfare cases. One funeral director says that could mean corpses of public aid clients may start stacking up. A spokesman for the Department of Public Aid suggests relatives may have to turn to churches or social service agencies for financial assistance in burying welfare clients.
Well, if you live in Illinois and your spouse is injured on the job, you can now sue for loss of normal marital relations. Today, the Illinois State Supreme Court ruled in a split decision that a woman could sue for damages under the state's Structural Work Act. The law protects workers from unsafe working conditions and compensates them for injuries. Those justices dissenting argue the law is intended in the event a spouse dies while working. Well, it is not. It is not one of those time to panic snowfalls.
Yes, good warning, but a few flakes did fall today, and Kevin has the forecast next.
Hey, Kevin, this is Michelle from Middletown, Indiana, and is it going to keep snowing?
Well, Michelle, you know, there is the possibility for a little more snow, but believe me, you'd be the first to know if there was going to be any more. When we come back, we'll let you know what else to expect. Stay tuned. WTHI-TV's Farmer's Almanac. TV 10 is proud again to offer the 1992 Farmer's Almanac this year, and of course, it's free of charge. As always, the Almanac features weather predictions, garden planting dates, interesting stories, jokes, recipes, and a whole lot more, and it's free. Here's where you can get yours. The Audio Connection in Town South Plaza, Terre Haute, Burke Spring and Terre Haute, and Tilton, Illinois, Growers Co-op serving Vigo, Clay, and Sullivan counties, and Overpex Hardware and Furniture east of the square in Rockville.
Well, if you've been outside, you've probably noticed the snow.
By the way, I had a call from Coal City, Indiana. The Doug Dalton family said after the snow they saw 200 robins, at least 200 robins in their backyard. They had congregated there.
Are you sure that was snow and not
And they said the robins were
200
in the
robins?
snow.
Oh, I think the white stuff would be something.
Yeah.
Hey, I was down in West Liberty today, talking with farmers down there at Rich Law Service, had a big farmer gathering. We had lunch, had a delicious lunch, and Dennis Farmer, the GM down there, wanted to make sure that each of you got a hat. So, Patrice, there you have a very nice little hat with a little pom-pom on top of it there.
Thank you.
And, of course, Mark, you have a nice hat. You say Rich Law, so
Thanks
there
to
you
those
go.
folks.
Yours
Very
doesn't
nice.
have a pom-pom.
No, but it has all of this up here.
Yeah.
Mine does too.
Okay, now, let's talk about Weather School.
Weather School.
All right, Weather School brought to you by Country Companies Insurance and Farm Bureau Insurance of Indiana. And speaking of little, cotton ball things, cotton ball type clouds are called cumulus stratus or cirrus clouds. Are they cumulus stratus or cirrus clouds? You can ponder that.
Finally, Mark thinks he knows one.
Yeah, very good. Oh, I learned something today, too. You know why farmers don't wear tennis shoes?
Why?
Feed companies don't give them away. Farmers will understand that. Well, outside... outside, it's kind of blustery and snowy and very wintry, a big difference than what it was on Tuesday of this week. Cloudy flurries right now, 33 degrees. Wind chill is 5. West-northwest wind at 10 to 20, but less than an hour ago, I had a wind gust of up to 37 miles per hour. High today, 44. That was earlier today. We've slid now down to 33, but the average flow is 17, so, not so bad. 1936, it was 15 degrees below zero on this date. In 1966, it was 67. Our barometer now is 29.58. It's holding steady. The humidity is 71. 0.02 of an inch of melted precipitation. The river is 3.8 rising. Air quality good, and the sun rises tomorrow at 4 minutes after 8 o'clock. Well, this is what it looked like in downtown Terre Haute today. You can see, boy, there for a while, it just really snowed. Look at that kind of blustery situation going on. That could still be the case during the overnight hours. And part-time weather watcher, full-time Action 10 photographer Brian Cundiff just got in, says, be aware that the temperature is such that where it's wet and where it's been doing this, it's getting slick out, so be careful driving tonight. Well, here we have weather watcher Sharon Wright up in Paris, Illinois. Sharon, I'll be coming up to the school, talk to the kids in Paris on Monday. Right now, though, in Paris, the wind is howling. It's spitting snow, and it's 26 degrees. Also getting a little sleet, according to Josh, the weather watcher down in Linton, 32. Sandcut has 33, Oblong 33. It's nice to visit with the fifth graders in Oblong, by the way, on the way back from West Liberty up through St. Marie and then stopping off at Oblong to see the kids, the fifth graders there. Flora has 34 degrees, overnight lows tonight. It's going to get cold, folks, 15, 20 degrees for an overnight low tonight. The wind isn't going to die down all that much, so it's going to be kind of a blustery night to be out and about. Here's what's happening. We've had this cold front go through, and this secondary wave of cold air is going to come moving in, and that's what's going to really bring us some very cold temperatures. And we're going to have to watch another influx of cold weather here over the next couple of days. Storms off the coast of North Carolina, as much as 1.5 inches of rain in some portions of Florida, 1/2 inch of rain in portions of North Carolina. And we have snow and winter weather warnings in portions of Michigan and Wisconsin, all the way up into the northeast part of the United States. Well, around here, the forecast goes like this. An overnight low, occasional snow, windy, colder, and down into the teens, 15 to 20 for the overnight low. And be advised that some of the streets are slick in spots out there. And then for tomorrow, windy, cold flurries, 23 to 27 for the high tomorrow night. Snow developing overnight. At 11 o'clock, I'll show you where that's coming from. An overnight low tomorrow night of 20. Saturday, some snow, especially during the morning hours, 28. A bit of warming trend, just like we had last week. Sunday, 38. Monday, 40. Tuesday, looks like it's going to be in the 40s.
Little roller coaster.
Well, I'll say. Now, those cotton ball type clouds, with no help from Patrice.
Okay.
Are they cumulus stratus or cirrus clouds?
Cumulus.
You're exactly right,
Those are
Mark.
cumulus.
Can you give him the easy one?
I knew that, though. Thanks, Kevin.
Okay.
The Sycamores look to extend their winning streak tonight, playing at Tulsa. That wasn't that easy.
Yes, it was.
Mike King has details later in sports.
There's a little creative recycling going on at Rose-Hulman. That story is next.
On Wall Street today, the Dow dropped 29.07. New York Stock Exchange down 130 today. Amex up 109. Gold dropped $3.30, and silver was off 6 cents. At Graham Grain and Growers Co-op in Terre Haute, corn $2.55, beans $5.72, wheat $4.20, Milo $4.09, and oats $1.50. The Indianapolis livestock market, hog trading a top of $37.50. No test today on steers or heifers.
Rose-Hulman students took a reprieve from bookwork for a part of the day to tinker with tin. About 30 students at the engineering school spent an hour cutting, taping, and masterminding a unique creation with recyclable items. The second annual Recyclable Engineering Contest challenges students' minds to put something unique together and take a break from the winter blahs. One future engineer says while the contest is a lot of fun, it's equally educational.
Well, it gets you to use some of the practical sense, some of your different designs you get in your head, and hopefully take some of the material you see and be able to use it for something.
The first place winner was the team called Trash. It made a workable crane. Cash prizes went to all winners, including second and third place. Good idea with the trash.
Those guys would be creative enough to do that,
Yes,
too.
they would.
Make a lot.
Well, you thought you could do anything if you won the lottery? I would think so. Think again. We'll tell you about some unlucky winners.
And the Sports Spotlight shines on a local lady looking for a spot on the U.S. Olympic team. Mike King has that story next. Light tonight with Mike King.
ISU playing tonight, both?
Yeah, both of them. Both the Sycamores seen action, and I tell you, it should be a good one. The women hosting Eastern Illinois at the arena, the men at Tulsa. Both of these teams are on a roll. Tate's Lock Sycamores take a 5-game win streak into Tulsa this evening to face the Golden Hurricane in Missouri Valley Conference action. State has won its last 3 by a combined 79 points, ripping Bradley Saturday at home and center. Tulsa comes in after a 1-point loss Monday to Illinois State. Now, K-Reek's squad has won 6 of its last 7. Tips off with Eastern Illinois tonight at 7:30 at the arena. We will have details on both of those games for you on Night Watch. But 2 notes concerning Magic Johnson this evening. You knew this one was coming. It was just a matter of time before someone was bold enough to step forward. But Australian officials say they are considering a boycott of all games involving the U.S. team because Johnson plans to play in the Olympics despite testing HIV positive. Australian medical officials consider Johnson a risk competing in a contact sport. Now, NBA Commissioner David Stern apparently takes a different view and today cleared Johnson to play in next month's All-Star game. Stern says after conferring with medical officials that Magic's participation would not pose a risk. The Pacers' George McLeod has been suspended for a game without pay and fined $10 grand by the NBA after inciting a brawl after last night's game at Cleveland. The incident occurred as the 2 teams were leaving the floor when McLeod apparently punched John Battle in the back of the head. Cavs coach Lenny Wilkins called it a, quote, sucker punch. The Pacers lost the game in OT 119-115. Interestingly enough, the 2 play again tomorrow at Market Square Arena. Super Bowl 26 set to kick off Sunday night at 6:18 here on TV 10. Bills head coach Marv Levy said today that barring some unforeseen miracle recovery, starting safety Leonard Smith will not play because of an infected knee. More on the Super Bowl tonight on Night Watch. Time once again for the Sports Spotlight. Every week, of course, it's brought to you by the folks at the Steak Escape at Honey Creek Mall. Now, Olympians are few and far between, but a local lady hopes she's good enough to wear the red, white, and blue this summer in Barcelona. This week, the spotlight shines on Terre Haute's Ruth Osmond as she prepares for this weekend's Olympic marathon trials in Houston, Texas.
Running a marathon takes not only endurance, athleticism, and stamina, but also an inner strength. Just ask Terre Haute's Ruth Osmond, who will be running in her 3rd Olympic marathon trials this Sunday.
When I'm in races, I feel like if I quit, or not even quit as far as not finishing the race, but quit mentally, I feel like I'm kind of giving up on this ability that God's given me.
Ruth will be one of 120 American women competing for only 3 Olympic spots, but just qualifying for this prestigious event is a victory in itself.
To qualify for an Olympic, something Olympic, is just such a thrill, and it's such a dream.
Running down a dream that never would come to me, working on a mystery, going wherever it leads, running down a dream.
A real big accomplishment was winning the mini marathon in Indianapolis, because
Ruth Osmond.
This is where we have lived for quite a few years, and we lived in Indianapolis at that time, and that's all anyone talks about.
It's just a really neat experience. I only ran it in 1985, and I didn't live in Indianapolis at that time, and so to live here and to run it, I run the Olympic trials, and I think I was more nervous for this.
Ruth credits her family with much of her success and without their support, she never could have experienced the joy of finishing that first marathon.
It's just a feeling of you want to talk about it, and you just, you're in the best mood that you could possibly be in, and it lasts for quite a while.
And she hopes that her competitive running days will also last for quite a while. Jim Hobbs, Action 10 Sports, Terre Haute.
And that's Ruth Osmond in the Sports Spotlight, brought to you every week by the Steak Escape. Some nice pictures there by TV 10 photographer Bob Stinnett, and of course Jim Hobbs doing a nice job there. One other word tonight, you might want to be with us. Will the Japanese buy the Seattle Mariners? It could happen, and the offer is on the table. We'll have details on Night Watch Sports.
Thanks, Mike. We'll be right back.
Watch. Folks in Sullivan, Indiana may soon know the score on a controversial donation to Sullivan High School. We'll have the latest. And Dr. Dean Adele looks at the best way to determine what's the trouble with your ticker. Kevin Orpert has a final look at our Friday forecast, and Mike King has Thursday sports. So join us tonight.
Hoosier Lottery officials say the mistake of Craig and Laura Stanley should be a warning to others. If you hit the lottery, don't talk about your travel plans. The Stanleys mentioned on TV plans for their trip from New Albany to Indianapolis to collect $1.25 million in lotto cash winnings. And they said they were going to stop in Bloomington on their way back home for the Indiana-Michigan basketball game. All's fine, but when the newly rich couple got home, they discovered their house had been burglarized.
What a shame that you have to worry about that.
It happened to Carl Lewis when he was at the Olympics in 1988.
Really?
Yeah, sitting there in Seoul, Korea, and somebody ransacked his house after winning 4 gold medals. So
And what a
they
welcome
knew he
home
wouldn't
that
be
would
home soon.
Yeah. We'll see you back here on Night Watch. Have a nice evening. Good night.
Bye-bye.